6 terrifying tales of sinister friends, how 5 haunted bonds were exposed as cursed nightmares. The shadows danced in the corners of Maple Grove, where even the moonlight seemed to shudder at the secrets buried beneath its white picket fences. Rumors whirled like autumn leaves as the mysterious disappearances of children gripped the neighborhood. Each missing flyer tacked to community boards told a story of dread, each family cloaked in silence, a pact of fear binding them together. What dark bond did these families share? The neighborhood, it seemed, was not as perfect as it appeared. Melissa stumbled through the door after another grueling night shift at the hospital, her bones aching and her heart racing. As she stepped onto her porch, something caught her eye. A figure loomed there, cloaked in shadows. Tyler, Claire's new friend, with an unsettling smile that seemed too wide for comfort. A charismatic spark clung to him that pulled Claire closer even as alarm bells rang in Melissa's mind. The air was thick, oppressive, as whispers from the neighbors drifted around her like smoke, each word dripping with the kind of dread that a mother feels in her gut. "What's wrong?" Claire asked, tilting her head, excited to see him. Melissa's skin prickled. There was something too enchanting about Tyler, a glimmer of charm that unnerved her. Days turned to weeks. The laughter that once filled their home faded, leaving an emptiness that echoed like a distant train. Claire's sparkle dimmed, her conversations turned to whispers of secret games and gatherings. Melissa tried to reach out, her heart aching every time Claire turned away, eyes gleaming with a fervor that only Tyler seemed to evoke. Desperation pushed her into the company of other parents, only to find hollow reassurances and forced smiles. "Everything's fine," they'd say, their cheers sounding like a lie wrapped in a facade. The tension in the air sparked as she walked the streets of Maple Grove, where laughter felt twisted and the light from street lamps flickered like it wanted to reveal something sinister lurking just out of sight. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Storm clouds loomed one fateful night, dark and foreboding as Melissa waited for Claire's return. Panic gnawed at her when she realized the hour was late. The silence of their home was suffocating as she bolted outside. Each step felt heavier than the last, her heart thundering in her chest. "Claire!" she called out, her voice trembling against the storm's growl. As she sprinted down the damp street, Melissa stumbled into a dark, mausoleum-like structure she'd never seen before. It stood at the end of their street, an invitation to nightmare. The air was frigid, and the wood creaked like it was alive, whispering secrets long buried. Lantern light flickered through the cracks, casting disturbing shadows that twisted like long-forgotten memories. As her breath caught in her throat, she overheard haunting whispers, a childhood pact crafted among the families of Maple Grove, steeped in darkness and betrayal. Her blood ran cold as the horrible truth washed over her. Would Claire be lost among them, part of a horrifying secret she never wanted to uncover? Shadows coalesced around her, suffocating her heart, her mind racing with terror and disbelief. Could she escape? Or would the darkness close in, binding her to this nightmare? As figures emerged from the shadows to confront her, Melissa felt the weight of her choice. Exposing the horrifying truth could save Claire, but at what cost? Melissa's breath hitched as the figures stepped into view. Their faces were obscured by silence, but their intent was unmistakable. Fear pulsed through her veins like ice water, each heartbeat resonated with the dread of losing Claire forever. They were the parents, the seemingly innocent faces she had shared coffee with during playdates, exchanging hollow pleasantries. Now they stood before her as something lurking creatures bound by darkness, not just by their children's play but by an unholy pact steeped in blood. She recognized them as the missing children's own families, ghosts of the playground that had turned into something far more sinister. "What have you done?" Melissa's voice quivered, the words spilling out amidst the storm's fury that echoed her terror. One of them, a woman, pale with sunken eyes, stepped forward. "We didn't want to," but the price was too heavy to bear. Our children, they belong to him now. The words sent a shudder through Melissa, anchoring her in place, paralyzed by a horror deeper than she ever knew. That charming Tyler, he was not merely a boy, he was a leash pulling on the very souls of their children, and snaring them in a web woven from fear and sacrifice. As the wind howled, a voice, smooth and enticing, cut through the chaos. Join us, Melissa. You can still turn back. Claire can be saved. It was Tyler. He stepped forward from the gathering shadows like an unwelcome dawn. That smile, once comforting, was now a grotesque distortion, a predator-esque grin. No! She gasped, stepping back, her heart shattering under the weight of a mother's instinct. The truth burned within her like acid. Children didn't just vanish, they were devoured. The group swayed like a dark tide, murmurs rising like smoke. You have to understand, the woman continued. The darkness, it feeds on children's innocence. It demands a price, and we made ours. But we have no choice anymore. Chaos flooded Melissa's mind. Could she really expose this nightmare, a truth that would shatter the already fragile bonds of the neighborhood? Would Claire become another forgotten ghost? Rushing to the door of the structure, she clutched at her phone desperately, hoping to reach Claire. But as she dialed, the screen flickered ominously. No signal, just the relentless shadows creeping closer. Dread coiled in her gut, and a cold sweat dripped from her brow. She was being drawn into their circle, a felonious pact that threatened to ensnare her in its obsidian grip. Melissa, Tyler whispered, his voice ghostly soft. Suddenly, the air turned heavy, charged with impending doom. The parents advanced, their movements synchronized, forming a wall of dark intent. She had seconds to decide: run toward the malevolent presence, or retreat to the stark safety of the light. Even as Claire's voice echoed in the distance, as she turned to flee, panic surged through her veins, dragging her deeper into a nightmare that twisted reality. Claire's laughter, innocent and bright, suddenly felt like an echo from a past life. Would she ever hear that sound again? Would the bond of mother and child sever forever in this sinister game? And in the darkness, as she dashed away, one thought burned brighter than the rest. What if she wasn't meant to escape? What if her very essence had already begun to fuse with this malevolent force? The chilled breeze followed her, whispering secrets and promising despair. The pivotal moment arrived. Could she truly unravel the horror that had gripped Maple Grove, or was it already too late? A haunting voice whispered through the night. Find us, Melissa. It's only beginning. Shivers coursed down her spine. She knew deep down, this was just the start of a far darker discovery. What awaited her in the shadows? Melissa sprinted through the shadows, each footfall echoing like a warning bell in the night. The wind whispered around her, a symphony of dread that seemed to pull her back as if the darkness itself wanted to embrace her. She shot a glance over her shoulder, her heart racing. The figures loomed, distorted and monstrous, their sunken eyes gleaming like predators on the hunt. Fumbling blindly through the chaos, she searched for an escape. The memory of Claire spun like a whirlwind in her mind, sweet and pure. She could almost smell the scent of her hair, feel the weight of her small body in Melissa's arms. Panic heightened every sense. The oppressive cold of the air seeped into her bones, chilled her thoughts, and turned her limbs heavy like lead. She was running, but every step felt like a futile battle against an unseen hand that pulled her back toward despair. Melissa! Tyler's voice pierced through the night, sweet yet tainted, a siren-esque call that tugged at the very fabric of her resolve. You don't have to run. Stay with us. He wasn't just a boy anymore. He was the manifestation of a nightmare that gnawed at her sanity. It's all a game, she heard another voice, high and childlike, whispered amongst the advancing parents. The sound sent a shiver down her spine. Come play forever, Melissa, forever. She chose to block it out, forcing her feet to move faster, focusing on the distance ahead. But there was nowhere to go. The street lights flickered ominously, like stars waning in a sky void of hope. The streets of Maple Grove, once familiar and safe, twisted into an alien landscape where shadows roamed freely. In the distance, an alley yawned open like a mouth eager to swallow her whole. As she turned toward it, strands of terror knotted in her stomach. There lay her chance to escape or face whatever lay at the end of this nightmare. But either option felt like a descent into madness. Breathless, she darted into the alley, her heart pounding in her ears. Darkness enveloped her, the world outside faded into a muffled hum. The air was thick, damp with the scent of decay. She stumbled over uneven bricks. Shadows danced wildly, and vivid images flickered in her peripheral vision: a child's laughter, a toy left behind, an echo of innocence lost. Suddenly, a soft thud behind her snapped her back to reality. She whirled around. The figures had followed her, closer than ever, their faces obscured by darkness but their intent crystal clear. The parents moved as one, a grotesque version of the neighborhood watch that once brought her comfort. "Don't you see?" the woman with sunken eyes crooned. "You can join us. Claire can still be saved." The desperation in her voice conflicted with an underlying menace. Melissa took a step back, panic flaring. Time seemed to slow as she glimpsed Tyler, scampering forward, a sickly grin plastered across his face, too wide, stretching beyond human limits. "Playtime is always fun. Join us." "No!" she screamed, her voice raw, breaking against the tumultuous lessons of horror around her. Before she could react, the cold grip of a hand snagged her arm. The woman tightened her hold, pulling Melissa into the oppressive darkness. Despair flooded her mind, the overwhelming dread suffocating any thoughts of resistance. "This is your destiny, Melissa. Accept it." Just as her vision began to blur into a dark haze, a sudden beam of light pierced the darkness, illuminating the scene like a glowing beacon of hope. Melissa squinted against the brightness, her breath hitching in her throat. "Melissa, come here." It was Claire's voice. Clear and sweet, cutting through the despair like a knife. Torn between the chilling grasp of fate and the soft light beckoning her, Melissa felt her heart teeter at the edge of decision. Would she choose the familiar darkness of despair or the fragile glimmer of hope that promised rescue? One option could lead to salvation, the other darkness forever. As she extended her hand toward the light, a chilling whisper drifted through the air: "You may regret this choice," and with that, the world around her began to shake. Would the nightmare solidify, or could she break free? Time hung suspended in the balance, and the shadows edged closer, filling her with the certainty that her next move could change everything. Melissa felt a surge of energy as her fingers inched closer to the light, the warmth washing over her like a gentle tide against the frigid grip of the shadows. But in that moment, doubt crept in, slithering around her heart like a snake. What if the light was just another trap? The grip on her arm tightened, the woman's nails digging in. "You can't escape," she hissed, her breath cold and acrid. "Claire needs you. You belong here." "No!" Melissa shouted, pulling against the agony of those words. Every scraping reality screamed at her. She had to choose. The light, or the darkness gripping her tighter than any chain. The ground trembled beneath her feet, almost as if the very earth was in turmoil over her decision. The shadows twisted and roared, contorting into faces that morphed into Claire's cherubic likeness, innocent yet eerily distorted. "Melissa! Please!" The heartfelt plea rang out, mixing with the knowing laugh of the distorted parents. "You could be happy forever." Fury ignited within her. What did they know about happiness? Clenching her jaw, she yanked her arm free, breaking the woman's grasp. The shadows recoiled as if stung, and the cold air cut keenly against her skin. In a single, frantic motion, she dove toward the blinding light. With every ounce of courage, she lunged. The moment she crossed into the beam, the warm glow enveloped her, contrasting the nightmare she had just escaped. The light pulsated, wrapping around her in a tangential embrace. Whispers faded, the children's laughter grew soft, almost distant. Yet she heard a pop, echoing inside the bubble of brightness, followed by the shocked gasps of her pursuers. Gasping, she pushed through the light and stumbled into a new reality, tumbling onto damp grass. She lay there for a moment, allowing the thrill of what felt like freedom to wash over her. The air was clean, a crisp scent mixed with soil and freshly cut grass. But as she propped herself up, her heart sank. She was back in Maple Grove, But everything looked wrong. The street beyond felt wildly unfamiliar. Houses stood twisted like grotesque mirrors reflecting the horror she had just escaped. Windows gaped open, dark voids like hungry mouths. Shadows swirled trip-wires of danger, waiting to ensnare her again. "Claire!" she screamed, panic clawing at her throat. But only silence answered. A slow creaking drew her gaze, and she turned to see one of the house's doors swinging wide, revealing a hallway lined with faintly glowing pictures, an eerily charming family portrait, a birthday party scene, and, most disturbingly, another image of Claire below the words, "Welcome home." A chill seeped into Melissa's bones, and dread gnawed at her insides. There, within the magical glow of her memories, she saw her daughter, surrounded by smiling figures, the very parents who had chased her, now bathed in warm light, pretending to welcome her back. Her heart raced. The charm turned ugly, fear rooted deep. "Melissa? You came back." The voice was melodic yet discordant. Slow steps took her closer, heart hammering. "Stay away," she warned, words trembling on her lips. The figures were blurring together now, familiar yet monstrous, shapes flickering in and out of reality, reaching for her with outstretched hands, eyes glistening with dark promises. Here, the lines between safety and danger blurred like smoke in the air. Each step toward them felt like trudging through nightmare fog, thick and suffocating. "Now you can play forever," the unholy choir of voices sang, circling her. Together again. Was it possible? Could she really have her family again? As fear battled hope, Melissa realized she had to confront the shadows within, once and for all. But as she backed away, rooted in her horror, her mind raced. What if this place was meant to trap her eternally, shattered dreams drawn back for cruel amusement? The chilling voices intertwined with one another, echoing with haunting laughter, seeping deep into her thoughts. "Join us," Melissa, with one last glance at the smiling faces, her mind echoed, "What do I do?" What choice as the light flickered and waned around her, she felt fleeting threads of sanity unravel. Would she embrace the life she longed for or risk obliteration by shadows? Uncertainty loomed like a storm overhead. Perhaps the darker memories lingered longer than they should, and then it hit her, a familiar voice breaking through the haze. "Mom! Don't go back!" The revelation surged through her, a shocking realization that the invitation to return was a lure. But would she heed the warning, or was it too late? The figures prowled closer, the choice narrowing even more. "Melissa! The time is almost up." As she prepared to make her stand, the shadows quivered, waiting for her decision. Melissa's breath came in frantic bursts as she took in the creeping shadows closing in around her. The seductive melody of sweet promises clashed hard with the pounding of her heart. She could feel the weight of the darkness pressing against her, each whisper echoing around her like a serpent's hiss. Together again, they called out, their words slithering into her ears, taunting her with the visions of warmth and love that felt more twisted by the second. "Get away from me!" she screamed, her voice cracking. She stumbled backward, her hands clawing at empty air, desperate for something solid to hold on to. The ground beneath her seemed to shift, almost alive, as if it wanted to swallow her whole. Each step she took made her feel like she was sinking deeper, and an overwhelming sense of despair pulled up inside her. "Mom!" The voice bled through the thickened air, a raw plea that slapped her senses awake again. Claire's anguished call echoed like a lighthouse beam beckoning her through the fog. "No! Stay out of this, Claire!" Melissa shouted, but her heart betrayed her. She could feel the ferocity of her maternal instincts surge, a burning desire to protect her daughter from whatever evil loomed. But how could she protect her if she couldn't even save herself? At that moment, the figures drew nearer, their smiles widening unnaturally. Shadows danced around them, twisting into sharp angles that reminded her of jagged teeth. They lifted their hands as if to pull her closer into their sickening embrace. "You belong with us, Melissa! Remember the joy! Remember Claire!" Joy! The very word felt like poison on her tongue. She closed her eyes tightly, blocking out the images of a happy family that twisted and turned grotesquely in her mind. With every passing second, tension wrapped around her like a vice. Was that really Claire? Or a wicked echo of what no longer existed? And then it came a flash of clarity. She could fight this. She had to. With each inhalation, she summoned the memories of true love. The silly laughter shared during bedtime stories, the feel of Claire's tiny hand tucked into hers, and the way her daughter would snuggle up close after fearful dreams. Those were the truths she needed to hold on to. With newfound strength coursing through her veins, Melissa cried out, "I'm not afraid of you. I choose Claire." As she said the name, the shadows around her pulsed violently, the chorus turning into a cacophony of despair. They shrieked, their booming voices colliding, creating a whirlwind of dark energy that clawed at her. It felt as though they were ripping apart at the seams, but before the last echoes of their rage could drown her out, she pressed forward. "Let my daughter go. She is not yours," she yelled, forcing herself into the center of glowing memories, the warmth of her love swirling around her like an invisible shield. She surged toward the door of the house, pulled by a gravitational force of hope. The vision of Claire illuminated her path, the promise of what was real becoming her anchor amidst the chaos. The shadows lunged, a horde of desperation and fear, yet she felt their grip loosen. A surge of light surrounded her, blinding, igniting an urgency that surged inside. She propelled herself one final time, breaking past the threshold of darkness, eyes fixed on the blinding whites and yellows. Then it happened, the world tilted, and she was thrown off balance, the cacophony erupting into a single, deafening crack that resounded in her core. The light faded. Melissa gasped as she found herself tumbling into an attic space, surrounded by dust and cobwebs. She looked around wildly, fighting against dizziness. Where was Claire? Amidst the shadows, a flicker of movement caught her eye, a figure, small and vulnerable. "Mom?" Ice coursed through her veins. Was it a trick? Was this the real Claire or another ghostly imitation? Melissa's heart raced. "Claire! Is that you?" But the figure stood still, silent, a question written all over its small frame, a pleading gaze searching for something. For help? For her? "Claire!" she shouted. Again, driven by desperation as an insatiable darkness crept back, caressing her heels like fog on a cold night. What was happening? Where was she, and what would reality allow her to grasp? The shadows advanced. Each moment felt heavy, each breath a countdown. The last echo of laughter spiraled around her, eerie and menacing. "Will you save your daughter, Melissa?" A dark voice emerged from nowhere, lingering in the air. The questions hung thick and oppressive as she stared at the small, fragile figure before her, uncertain whether to step forward or flee. Which choice would she make next? Melissa's pulse thundered in her ears as she struggled to discern the figure in the corner of the dimly lit attic. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, yet she was rooted to the spot. Claire's name hung between them like a final echo of hope tainted by fear. "Mom," the figure whispered again, its voice trembling, a mirror of Melissa's own turbulence. There was a familiar echo in that small sound, a flicker of recognition mingled with dread. A shadow shifted, and for a heartbeat, Melissa thought she saw her daughter's familiar warmth in those wide, scared eyes. But as the darkness pulsed around them, each shadow stretching and twisting oddly, doubt gnawed at her. Could she trust her senses? What if this was merely another trick, another illusion designed to drag her deeper into despair? "Stay back!" The command came out sharper than she intended. The voice, barely a murmur, crackled with the fear that tightened her throat. She took a cautious step forward, her heart straining against her ribcage, and tried to tear through the confusion festering in her mind. As if sensing her movement, the figure shuddered and took a step back. "Please, Mom, I'm scared." Scared. The word hit her like a punch. That was Claire's voice, trapped in a nightmarish realm, anxiety wrapping around it like a noose. Melissa felt her resolve hardening. The shadows swirled closer, inching toward her, threatening to consume her will. "No!" she screeched. "I won't let you take her. I refuse." "It's too late, Melissa." The dark voice, smooth yet chilling, echoed from every corner, wrapping around her like a suffocating shroud. You've already chosen what? Melissa demanded, the tremor in her voice barely masking the anger building within. Chosen you? Laughter rippled through the air, high-pitched and sinister. It swirled and flickered around her, feeding off her fear. The attic seemed to shrink and expand, making her dizzy as whispers echoed like the flutter of moth wings. All your choices lead to one destination, darkness. Melissa shook her head, defiance igniting in her gut. What did they know about her choices? You're lying. I will take Claire and leave. You can't keep us. As she fueled her determination with every thought of her daughter, the shadows pulsed violently. The laughter turned into cries filled with rage, anger fueled by the possibility of losing her grip on this entrapment. The air thickened, squeezing her from all sides. Moving towards the figure, she reached out. Claire! I'm here! That tiny body trembled, tears shimmering under the dim light, begging for her mother's presence. Mom, I can't be here. I don't belong here. Help me! A surge of terror broke through the fragile barrier that existed between them. Tears blurred Melissa's vision. She fought them back, channeling her love into strength. Hold on, sweetheart. I'm coming. Just don't look away. She crossed the space, her footfalls carefully measured, every step a battle against the visceral pull of shadows clawing at her close. Sweat pooled on her brow, and with each movement, the oppressive quiet deepened, amplifying her fears. As she reached the last few feet, the shadows transformed, merging into a wall of familiar faces, friends, relatives, and memories long buried. They stared at her, eyes hollow, mouths twisted into mockery. Join us. Join us forever. Their whispers melded into one horrid chant. Mom Claire's voice cracked, breaking through the blaring chaos. That single plea surged through Melissa, igniting her will. No! With a primal yell, she surged forward, pushing through the gathered figures, against the tide of darkness and fear. All she needed was one moment, not just to embrace her daughter, but to free them both from this malevolence pressing down. Her focus sharpened. It wasn't about fighting the darkness. It was about uncovering the light buried within. Take her! The darkness seethed, its voice growing desperate, and be lost like we are. And just as their hands reached to grab Melissa, each figure melted into the night. For an instant, she felt the grip of despair fade. Finally, she touched Claire's trembling hand, holding on with everything inside her. Together, she said firmly, as the shadows recoiled slightly. We go together. But as they tightened their grasp, something deep within her shifted. Will your bond be enough to withstand the darkness? The voice echoed, a question hanging in the charged air. Together forever? Or lost in the shadows? Each heartbeat strained against the encroaching darkness. Melissa's breath quickened as uncertainty loomed. Was this their salvation, or the beginning of their nightmare? As shadows loomed ever closer, one thing became clear. They would either break the curse of this bond or be consumed by it. Which terror awaited them? The moment their hands clasped, a jolt slammed through Melissa. It felt as if an electric current raced from her fingertips to her core. In that split second, the shadows trembled around them, their chilling whispers momentarily silenced. Melissa's heart danced between hope and horror, each pulse striking like a drumbeat in the haunted silence. Mom! Claire's voice cut through the tension as she tightened her grip. I'm so scared. The weight of those words clung to Melissa, grounding her in that harrowing reality. With Claire at her side, she could feel the bond between them sizzling against the icy touch of darkness closing in. We'll find a way out. Trust me, she shouted, trying to instill courage in both of them, but shadows crept back, swirling like a dense fog, choking her words. The air thickened, wrapping around them with a suffocating grasp, pulling at the remnants of hope. Melissa had barely caught her breath when the familiar faces began to reforming into horrific masks of despair, twisted memories now contorted into something monstrous. Join us, they sang, a cacophony of hollow, mocking tones. Embrace the end. Melissa stumbled back, tugging Claire with her. No! You're not real! The faces morphed, morphing from friends to relatives. They were warped, distorted marionettes controlled by an unseen force. Their hollow eyes bore into Melissa, sparking memories better left untouched. "Mom! Make them stop!" Claire cried, and a tremor weaved through Melissa's resolve. "No!" she shouted again, the word filled with defiance. "I refuse to let you take her." The shadows shifted violently, the sound of tearing fabric echoing through the void. Cackles erupted, anger flaring and casting an even darker pall over the attic. The air felt electric, charged with a malicious intent. Melissa could feel the fabric of her reality stretching, threatening to snap. "Your love is your weakness," the darkness hissed, slicing through the air. "Can you protect her from the truth of what she really is?" Melissa's heart dropped. What did it mean? The shadows stirred, sensing her doubt, feeding on it. Dark tendrils snaked around Claire, wrapping tighter. Melissa felt her breath hitch as the ethereal grips strained against both of them. "Mom! I can't!" Claire gasped, and that desperate plea pulled Melissa forward, instinct blazing. "No!" Melissa grabbed Claire tighter, fiercely. "We're stronger than this. Are you willing to sacrifice everything for her?" The darkness taunted, twisted irony dripping from every syllable. "Your life, your sanity, even her own?" As Melissa stared into the black void that threatened to swallow them, she felt her will waver. Sacrifice? What would it mean to lose herself? A terrifying thought, yet she pondered it, searching for a shred of light in the swirling chaos. But the darkness pressed in, spinning the lights overhead into a dizzying world. In the midst of the chaos, a warm glow flickered, breaking through the dark. It pulsed like a heartbeat, beckoning. "Together, please." Claire's whisper was filled with fragile hope, and it broke through the grim haze, suffocating them both. With a simple nod, Melissa closed her eyes, drawing upon the memories of laughter, warmth, and family. "Together!" she shouted, her voice reverberating through the shadows with newfound intensity. "You can't take us!" And as they seized that flicker of warmth, the shadows recoiled. But the pulsating darkness retaliated, wrapping tighter, testing their bond. The chilling laughter rose again, echoing all around them. "This bond can't withstand the truth forever. You will unravel." Melissa felt the creeping dread clawing at her mind. What truth? The bond they fought to protect was their only weapon against the encroaching doom. Would it hold? The glow surged, pushing back the consuming black, but as it fought, Melissa sensed the darkness growing desperate. Was time already slipping through her fingers? She clutched Claire's hand, casting every fear aside. "Don't let go!" And as they rose to meet the darkness head-on, a new presence enveloped them. Something ancient. Something powerful. But it wore a face she recognized, a face she wished to forget. "Melissa," the shadowed figure whispered, its voice a sad echo of the woman she once loved. "That's impossible." Fear gripped her heart, the room spinning. But was this a chance for salvation, or another cruel twist of fate? In the turmoil, something shifted, darker still, the ground trembled under their feet. Would the truth finally be revealed? Would they find the salvation they sought, or fall deeper into despair? Melissa's breath quickened, the shadowy figure before her swaying like a sickly flame. "Impossible!" Her voice barely registered above the chaotic whispers swirling around them. But the familiar face held an unsettling comfort, luring her into a web of nostalgia. Ghosts from the past, entwined with sorrow and regret, flickered in and out around it, each conjuring forgotten moments: a birthday smile, a warm hug, a soft laugh. "Mom?" Claire trembled, her grip slipping slightly. "Is that really her?" "Claire, no!" Panic surged through Melissa. The room rippled with shadows, each pulse dragging them deeper into the void. "Don't listen to her." But the figure stretched its hand toward Claire, beckoning her closer. "Sweetheart, it's been so long it felt wrong, like a cruel imitation of love." Claire's eyes, wide with confusion, flashed between hope and fear. "Mom?" she whispered again, caught in a tug-of-war between light and darkness. "Do you wish to know the truth?" The shadow grinned. Its smile was a jagged smile, barely human. "The truth that lies behind the love you both cherish?" "No!" Melissa shouted, shoving herself in front of Claire. A dark energy rippled through the room, pulling at the edges of her resolve. The laughter morphed into tortured cries, resonating in her chest. Would the memories of love bring them solace, or doom? "Mom, please!" Claire cried, her voice breaking. Tears threatened to spill, and Melissa felt her own weight of helplessness surge. The figure's face twisted, morphing into something grotesque. "You're weak, Melissa. This bond will shatter. Every parent fails." "No, don't say that." She could feel Claire's hand tremble. It felt as if the very air turned acidic, stirring the memories clawing at her heart. "You are not her. You're lying." The shadows behind the figure surged forth, longing to consume them. Disembodied howls echoed. For every spectral whisper of the past, a memory lost surfaced, a warning from the many who had walked this path before. The pact they made, the promises that turned to dust. The darkness snarled, each shadow tightening around Melissa, threatening to pull her apart. "What are you willing to sacrifice, Melissa?" It echoed, a chilling cacophony suffocating her hope. "Let her go!" Melissa screamed, summoning every ounce of strength she had left, feeling the weight of despair threatening to swallow them both. She thought of all that Claire was. All the joy she sparked, the laughter, the dreams yet to be fulfilled. Driven by love, she called out fiercely, "You cannot take what isn't yours!" And then, with fierce clarity, she felt the warmth of that flickering glow rekindle. Together, they surged forth, a wave of defiance against the void surrounding them. The figure screeched, its features twisting, but they pressed against it, fighting for every scrap of hope they could muster. The bond stretched, fought and held. "We are stronger together," Melissa cried, forcing the words into the darkness, willing it to bend. But as the shadows recoiled, Melissa could feel an underlying tremor of desperation within them. "You think this is enough?" Darkness seeped back, thicker now, denser with rage. "You merely delay the inevitable." They teetered on the edge, and Melissa felt the heat of that truth twisting around her. Could they hold on? Was their love strong enough to face what lay ahead, or were they merely delaying their fate? But through the disarray, a glimmer of hope pushed through the chaos, igniting a warmth deep in her core. "We're not done yet!" she shouted, and the glow pulsed brightly again. Just then, the shadows thinned momentarily, revealing a path made of light. Hope flared within Melissa's chest. "This way!" she urged Claire, tugging her forward. But the darkness roared back with vengeance, and the ground shifted violently as the attic began to crack and splinter beneath them. "You cannot escape, Melissa! The truth will find you!" Heart racing, Melissa felt the weight of that ominous message. What truth waited just beyond the horizon? Would fleeing the shadows shield them from the darkness, or would it lead them deeper into despair? "Mom, please!" Claire gazed up at her, a mix of dread and trust clouding her innocent face. "What if it isn't over?" With one last glance back at the figure twisting in the shadows, Melissa felt a chilling certainty creep in. They were only just beginning to uncover the darkness waiting for them. They dashed toward the sliver of light, the oppressive shadows clawing at their heels. Melissa's heart pounded a frantic rhythm, each beat urging her to escape the suffocating darkness. Claire stumbled, barely keeping up, fear twisting her features. "Mom! What if it catches us?" "It won't!" Melissa shouted, desperation fueling her resolve. Yet as they raced for the illuminated passage, the shadows retaliated, slithering like angry serpents, determined to reclaim what they once held. "Do you really think the light will save you?" the figure hissed, now just a murky outline, still clawing for Claire. "You've only delayed the inescapable." The air thickened, suffocating and charged with an electric dread. Each step felt heavier as if the darkness conspired to weigh them down. Melissa turned back only for a moment, long enough to see the shadows coiling like smoke around the bottom of the light. "Claire!" she hollered, grasping her daughter's wrist tightly. "We have to keep moving. Stay close." The light flickered with an unsteady pulse, drawing them closer like a moth to flame. In the depths of her mind, a sinister thought swirled. What if the light was a trap? The worry gnawed at her as they sprinted, the soft whispers surrounding them crescendoing into a maddening chant. "Leave this place, leave the past behind, make them stop!" Claire screamed, her voice piercing through the cacophony. "Mom, make it stop!" Melissa felt a cold breeze whip through, carrying the echoes into a chilling symphony. "Keep your eyes on me," she urged, trying to block out the tormenting noise, but the shadows were relentless, carving away at her focus. "Every truth has a consequence," the figure warned, its voice a rasping mockery. "You think you can outrun your past?" Suddenly, the floor beneath them quaked, and fissures split wide, spilling forth a torrent of darkness like tar. Melissa's heart sank. They were losing ground fast. "Claire, hold on!" The world spun as they plunged into the fray, teetering on a precipice of despair. It was as if they were being pulled apart, torn between the warmth of hope and the chilling grasp of the shadows. And then she felt it, the familiar sensation of something slipping through her fingers, the glow of Claire's spirit waning. "No!" She clutched tighter, urgency splintering her thoughts. "Claire, you have to fight." "I want to, Mom. I don't want to lose you." Claire's voice quivered, the terror palpable, and Melissa could feel her resolve shattering like glass. Memories lashed at them, moments of laughter, warmth, safety spinning into a whirlpool of heaviness that threatened to drown them both. "Join me," the figure screeched, now ferret-like, darting with shadows as it spiraled through the cracks. "The truth will liberate you, Melissa. Just let go." "No!" Melissa roared, doubling down on her strength. Her mind painted vivid images of all they could still have, all they could rebuild. "We can't give in to this." With one final push, they lunged forward into the light, propelled by sheer will, but the darkness surged, ravenous and relentless. The shadows lashed out, suffocating their spirits with regret and fear. Then, with an earth-shattering crash, the ground erupted beneath them, and they were swallowed whole, spiraling through the void. In an instant, they landed hard on a floor that felt wrong. Voices crawled along the edges of her sanity. "Welcome back, Melissa and Claire." The air pulsed thick with an idea that crept into their minds, clawing at the corners of their consciousness. Were they truly safe? Or had they simply fallen deeper into the embrace of their worst fears? As darkness encroached again, heavy and familiar, Melissa could feel the creeping despair settle within her. Had their journey only just begun? And a chilling thought seeped through her mind: what if the truth they sought was hidden deeper still? "Mom, I don't want to be here." Claire's voice trembled, a haunting echo. And as the shadows shifted, forming grotesque shapes, the figure emerged once more, eager for the reunion. "I've been waiting." What lay ahead in this darkened labyrinth? Would they face a fate worse than despair, or was there a glimmer of truth buried within the shadows? The air hung thick with dread as Melissa and Claire faced the shadowy figure that had haunted their journey. It swayed like smoke, shifting between the familiar and the grotesque, a blend of memories laced with malice. Fears surged through Melissa like a shockwave. She clutched Claire's hand, every fiber of her being screaming that they needed to escape, yet something in the pit of her stomach urged her to confront the past, to unearth the truth buried beneath layers of darkness. "Welcome back," the figure crooned, its voice honeyed yet laced with poison. "You've drawn closer to the truth, but at what cost? The shadows are hungry, and they've feasted for far too long." Melissa's heart raced, thoughts spiraling. "I won't let them take you." The words blurted out, raw and desperate. She squeezed Claire's hand tighter, her resolve hardening. "We'll fight together." "Fight? You've already lost so much," the figure taunted, weaving closer. "The past is a chain, Melissa, and it binds you to this place." The shadows hissed and roared, swirling with ancient anger, almost alive as the oppressive weight of despair threatened to suffocate them. Melissa felt the darkness clinging to her like a shroud, whispering secrets that slithered through her mind. Memories twisted with agony, recalling the laughter that echoed in their home, a laughter now shrouded in a haunting silence. "I won't let your lies entrap us," Melissa yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos as the very essence of her love surged forth. She remembered Claire's first steps, the way her face lit up with awe at the world around her. Those moments felt like armor, shielding her from the shadow's grasp. Claire! She shouted, her heart racing. Listen to me. We can create new memories. Together. Together, Claire murmured, pulling closer, the bond sparking with renewed strength. But Mom, what if the memories are wrong? With these words, the shadows intensified, a dark whirlwind around them. The laughter morphed into sobs, twisting the joyous echoes into something sinister. Your love can't save you, the shadows hissed, inching closer. You both belong to the darkness now. I don't believe you. Melissa pressed forward, marching into the center of the swirling shadows that grasped hungrily at her ankles. I choose our love, our future. Suddenly, flashes of light burst through the dense fog, illuminating a path ahead. Vivid memories of Claire's bright smile, their long walks in the sunshine, and evenings filled with stories flooded her mind. These are our truths, Melissa declared, her confidence soaring. The shadows recoiled momentarily, squirming like ghosts caught in the daylight. Melissa dared to take a step forward, then another until the brightness spread, painting their faces in hope. Come with me, Claire! As they surged toward the brilliance, the darkness screamed in fury, the sinister figure's laughter twisting into howls of rage. You can't escape your fate, it wailed, but the power of their bond surged forth like a tidal wave splintering through the darkness. They dashed through the light, that sacred connection glowing between them. The boundaries of despair began to fade, giving way to warmth as the shadows dissolved into a wailing mist. Panting, Melissa felt the tight grip of terror release. We did it! She gasped, joy blooming in her chest as bright sunlight surrounded them, warm and freeing. We're free! But as the light flickered, revealing their safe return to Maple Grove, that enchanting warmth dimmed. Familiar streets twisted oddly, houses looming like crooked specters, seemingly waiting, hungry for the return of what had been lost. Mom, what if it's all a trick? Claire trembled beside her, uncertainty flickering in her wide eyes. Melissa felt the suffocating grip of fear return, reality crashing heavy once more. No, we'll keep moving forward. We'll create new memories here. Together. But the reminder of darkness lingered still, brushing against her consciousness like a fleeting whisper. A shadow in the corner of her eye made her heart stop. Leave this place, the chilling whispers snickered, wrestling against the determined pulse of love she clung onto. No! She shot back, fierce resolve igniting the air around her. We want to go back. We've broken the curse. With Claire's hand firmly in hers, Melissa straightened, shifting her focus on the future ahead. They stepped forward together, ready to face whatever awaited them in their neighborhood. We'll make Maple Grove a place of light and laughter. We choose our path. As a brilliant dawn broke over them, illuminating the gloom, hope erupted like fireworks. The weight of darkness had been challenged, and the shadows that once loomed held only whispers of what they had evaded. The neighborhood lay before them as a canvas, time to paint with hues of happiness and healing. Together, Melissa declared, her voice strong and unwavering. Together, Claire echoed, love binding them in their newfound strength. They stepped forward as the sun rose, greeting the day with open hearts and a fierce love that resided deeper than any darkness could consume. With each step into the bright future ahead, they left the shadows behind, empowered by a bond that could never be broken. As they walked, surrounded by the vibrant light of their renewed existence, the past became just a ghost of their memories. And in that light, they embraced a world unshackled, forging a bond stronger than fear, more radiant than the choking shadows of despair. The essence of love and hope shone brighter than ever in everlasting light. And they turned toward their Maple Grove, ready to make a home, unraveling the true powers that conspired against them. Mom, look! It's a beautiful day! Claire beamed, innocence radiating. Yes, it is, sweetheart, yes, it is. Together they breathed in the fresh air, feeling the warmth consume them, finally beginning to heal in their newfound freedom. Now, if you've loved this story as much as I enjoyed telling it, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Let us make sure everyone hears this thrilling conclusion. And do me a favor, flood the comments section with your reactions, every prediction, and your theories about the ending. Let us get the conversation going. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Your support makes all the difference.